Okay, if everyone's happy with that, we might get started. Good evening. Thank you for coming out this evening, particularly the candidates who I know have at this time not much life, and of course will have less life as we get closer to October the 15th. Thank you all for also coming to this new venue. We had some troubles booking the library, and it's booked out again next month, something to do with an election apparently, and a polling booth in the library. From a logistics point of view, there are emergency doors with the usual emergency door signs. And if you need to go to the loo, it's back out the corridor. You came down, turn to your right, and it's just up on your right as you go up that way. If you haven't signed into our sign-in sheet, we would appreciate it if you do so. Part of our funding deed from the ACT government is the Community Council has a record of people who have attended our public meetings, so it's very helpful if you do that. Thank you. You will notice that Mark Scarborough from My Gun Video, if you are asking a question, may go live, and it might be some video if you're in picture. If anyone has an issue with that, I would encourage you not to ask a question live, and perhaps slip me a piece of paper or something. Look, this evening is the objective is to try and get through a lot of questions and a lot of issues rather than get stuck on one or two issues. It may not play out that way, depending on how the questions and flow goes. So that's the objective, and that's why we originally asked that every question be relatively short and that the questions be directed to an individual party or an individual candidate, and that there'll be one answer. Because if someone asks a question and every candidate wants to answer, we would be here for quite a while and only get one question answered. But we'll go with that, and we'll try a few show of hand type questions to see where candidates sit on particular positions. And when we come to the open Q&A, then if you have a question where you'd like to, is your favourite colour blue, show of hands, then you could at least find out where your candidates sit on that particular topic. There is a microphone for questions. We would encourage you to please use that, not because your voices aren't loud enough, it's because if we're streaming it and you end up with people answering questions and no one's heard the question, it's a bit nonsensical. So we'd encourage you to use the microphone when we get to that point. The structure of the evening will be that I'll ask each candidate to speak for 2 minutes about themselves. They've been asked to talk about the topics of interest to Gungahlin, transport issues, schooling, education, the social agenda, facilities, town planning, from you all through your comments on Facebook, via email and via public meetings. So we're expecting a wide-ranging discussion. You will see a lot of people here. I remind you that we have a new format for this year's election. We're electing 5 candidates in 5 electorates in Canberra. This is the city of Werribee. And so amongst all the people here and more, because we have a few apologies, there will be 5 people being elected to the MLA, the Legislative Assembly, as a result of this process. We have apologies from Amanda Lynch from the Liberals, Suzanne Orr from the ALP, and Andy Jewson, an independent who has not recovered from a heavy cold. All right. With that done, I'm going to proceed to the open session. I have a phone that I'll time people on. I have a list here, but I might just, for the sake of clarity, just go from your right to my left, your right to your left, which is my left to your right. So I might get Jason, if you wouldn't mind kicking off with a 2-minute address. Again, if you could grab the microphone, it might be easiest. You can either step up to the microphone or you can pull it out of the handle and... Pardon? If you wish, you can do that, but I thought it'd be less shuffling around if we just did it from... that's fine. Hey, brilliant work. Is the mic on there? Yep, that's a yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first candidate.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening. My name's Jason Hinder. I'm a sitting MLA, currently a member for Gungahlin, which takes in, I suppose, the southwestern part of the current redistribution for Werribee. I've previously served on the Gungahlin Community Council, so I understand the work you do, and thanks very much for inviting us along this evening. So I've been the MLA here since March when Mayor Porter retired, and I was elected on account back from 2012. Since being in government, I've advocated on a regular basis for better public transport and local shops, upgrades, more health and education services. I'm proud to be a government that is seen to be investing in Gungahlin, and that's one of our key priorities for growing Canberra. Before being elected, I was the principal of my own law firm here in Canberra, chairman of Bendigo Bank for the last 8 years, and served on the boards of Canberra Stadium, Raising Hope Education Foundation, the Physical Activity Foundation and the PCYC, amongst other things. People have been telling me since I ran last time and during my time in the Assembly, they want to see less career politicians and more people with real life experiences and useful skills elected in our elected bodies. As a lawyer, I've always acted as the voice for people I represent, and I want to continue after this election to be the voice for the people here in Yerrabi. I was born in Canberra and I've lived here my whole life, and I've always been a joiner. I've chaired events and organisations as diverse as the World Mountain Bike Championships, North Canberra Futsal,
10 seconds.
and Phillip Oval Redevelopment, Labor Party's Health Policy Committee. I've even coached rugby at Darramala College and St Edmunds. President of the Gungahlin ALP branch for the last 7 or 8 years. Business experience as diverse as running automotive import and repair business in Fyshwick, construction companies and building and civil contracting business right here in Yerrabi, and most recently my own law firm, after practicing as a partner in several large firms. My university education was in politics and law at ANU. My background shows that I'm a candidate in this election. Real life experience can deliver for our community. With most politicians you'll get sizzle, with me you'll get steak as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And perhaps I should, just from a timekeeping point of view, I'll give a 15-second alert with a tappy tap tap, and when the timer goes off, I will leave it on at 2 minutes.
Sounds good. Thanks everyone. 2 minutes isn't very much time, so I'll keep it brief here. I would like to declare a conflict of interest. I'm currently serving as the Treasurer on the Gungahlin Community Council. I have excused myself from anything political that comes up. So my name's David Pollard and I'm running as an independent candidate for Yerrabi. I was inspired to run as a candidate at all after getting quite heavily involved in my local community and eventually reaching the Gungahlin Community Council as well. I saw what communities could do when they worked together. I saw huge value in it, and I saw outcomes as well. The reason I first got involved in my local suburban community was when my family and I moved to Grace. I wanted the best for my daughter. She was 2 at the time, she's now 4. I've also got a 1-year-old son. I wanted them to experience the best community that they could. So I got involved, and again, the outcomes of that have just been so rewarding for me. I've taken it to the next level up, and here I am. As to why an independent, there's no single answer for that. It would certainly be easier if I was part of one of the major parties, but that is one of the answers to that. I think that a crossbench is a hugely important part of our democracy. I think that even running in the election as an independent, as minor parties, makes sure that we get the best out of the major parties. The government is going to be formed by the major parties, that's fine, but I feel it's so important we don't just roll over and let them have it. We have to be fighting for what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Casey Heffernan. I'm from the Like Canberra Party. We're a relatively new party. We evolved from the Bullet Train for Canberra Party from last election, and we decided to run in this election because we just want to give Canberra a voice. None of us are career politicians. We're all just everyday people. We all have jobs. A lot of us have families, and we just decided to stand up to see what we could do to make the community a better place, to see what we can do in terms of bringing new ideas to the board, bringing new thoughts, bringing new life. A lot of us are quite young candidates, and we just have a lot of new ideas, and Gungahlin is a huge growth area. I think it's been one suburb a year for the past, has it been 7 or 10 years that we've had a new suburb a year, but it's just such a huge growth industry out here, and we just really wanted to get behind that and really want to see what we can do as a minor party to make Canberra the better place, because we're all really passionate about Canberra and that's why we like Canberra.
Thanks, Casey. Justin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin States. I'm running for the Canberra Liberals here. Just a little bit about myself. I was born in Gippsland, Victoria, and at a young age I moved to Perth. There I completed an honours degree in psychology and was offered a graduate position in Department of Defence, and that brought me to Canberra here in 1992. Since then I've also worked in Department of Industry, Science and Tourism and Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And during that time I completed 2 other degrees, an MBA and a law degree at the ANU, which also involved me in an exchange program in the USA at the University of Alabama School of Law. Since then I've also worked as an advisor in the political system, learning about the federal government and its processes, as an advisor to the Honourable Julie Bishop MP and the Honourable Philip Ruddock MP. And I've worked in the private sector providing policy and legal services. As for my community involvement, I'm on the Calvary Hospital Community Advisory Council. So there I communicate the concerns of local residents with our health system, and also try and push for a local hospital to be built here, as they see that as a very high priority in this election. Also, I'm active in the Gungahlin Community Council and the Ford Residents Association. And should I be elected next month, in addition to improving the health system, I'll work actively with you to improve the roads and local infrastructure here. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Jacob.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Badakaret. I'm one of the Liberal candidates for the upcoming election in the electorate of Yorby. Thank you for coming along and spending your weekday evening. Thanks for coming along. I mean, it's really hard after work, but thank you all for coming and participating in this event. I've been at Canberra resident for the last 18 years. I came in 1998 to do my master's degree in business administration at the University of Canberra. I completed that course, and I'm currently working in the Department of Finance in the budget group. I'm actively involved in several local community organizations. I've been actively involved with the Gungahlin Community Council for the last many years in various capacities. I used to be the secretary, and I used to be the public officer before I resigned a few months back after I got elected. I'm also with the local sporting club, Gungahlin United Football Club, one of the biggest soccer clubs in Canberra. I'm involved with the Red Cross, Cancer Council, ACT. I'm passionate about community activities, and that's why I'm running for this election. I want to do something for the community. And I mean, when I came in '98, I came here as a student. I worked really hard, worked part-time jobs, evening, attended the uni. I got a job, lucky enough to get a job here. I think it's time for me to give something back to the community, and I'm quite passionate about that. Yorby, consisting of all the new suburbs in Gungahlin, we need more. A lot of infrastructure needs to be done. There are a lot of requirements, not enough schools. Schools are overcrowded. We don't have a hospital here. The roads are too narrow. We need to duplicate so many roads. So these are my priorities. I look forward to your support. If I'm elected, I will prioritize these requirements. Gungahlin needs more, and I look forward to your support once again. Thank you.
Timing perfect. Thanks very much, Jacob. James.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come along this evening to talk to you all. Yes, I'm James Milligan, Liberal candidate for the seat of Yerby, along here with my other colleagues. I've been actively involved in the local community now for quite some time. I run a small publishing house here in Canberra, and no doubt most of you have seen the publication Gunsmoke. I'm responsible for putting that together and have done for the last 3 or so years. I ran as a former candidate for the seat of Fraser in 2010, and then again for the seat of Molonglo in 2012. Since then, I joined the Gungahlin Community Council as a communications director, as well as public officer, and I was responsible for improving the image and the publications of the council, as well as part of 2 very successful small business breakfasts that we held. Since then, I joined the Communities at Work Celebrate Gungahlin Festival, and I've been a part of that committee for the last 2 years. Through my activity in these different forums and organisations, I've grown to understand more about the issues that matter to our community. And with my business background, as well as my experience working with the community, I believe that I'll be able to champion the issues that we need to make Werribee and Canberra a much better place. Through my discussions of recent, there's been a lot of issues expressed: planning, infrastructure, roads, health, education, as well as employment. Gungahlin Town Centre certainly needs a revamp. It certainly needs a new master plan, and I'll be certainly trying to champion for a new plan for the region to give business the confidence to know that the government is going to invest in Gungahlin so we can increase local employment opportunities. It's quite vast, the issues, but given the opportunity, I think I'll represent the electorate of Werribee quite well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Alistair.
Thanks, Peter. My name's Alistair Coe. I'm a member of the Assembly for Gungahlin. I'm a resident of Nichols and have spent collectively about 15 years or so living here in Nichols. And I've got a real passion for the north of Canberra, and being a resident of Gungahlin, of course, I'm keen to see the services and offerings here in Gungahlin improve. I think so many people in Gungahlin, and indeed in other parts of Canberra, are sick of a government that reaps hundreds of millions of dollars in land sales, but doesn't actually invest in the infrastructure ahead of time. And that's something I think really does need to change. I think we're losing a huge amount in opportunity at the moment by not having the sort of infrastructure that the NCDC delivered in districts right across Canberra. So I think there's a lot more that can be done to make sure that we're managing our assets properly. I also think it's important that we don't just deliver the infrastructure and walk away, but we actually make sure there are genuine maintenance programs. And I think we're seeing that in a lot of the new suburbs, whereby they have had very good infrastructure put in place in some instances, but the maintenance schedule just isn't there to match it. And because of that, I think we're going to see a lot of this infrastructure deteriorate quite quickly. So a lot of issues in Gungahlin, of course, not to mention transport and health, but I'm sure we'll cover all those in depth later on. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Alistair. Megan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Fitzharris. I'm a Labor MLA for Gungahlin and also a candidate in this brand new seat of Werribee. Thanks, Peter, for having us here this evening. I've been a resident of Gungahlin for nearly a decade. We're raising our family here. We shop here. I live here too, just like most of us and all of you. I'm very proud to be a Gungahlin MLA. We've been very proud to represent Gungahlin very strongly over the last 16 or 17 months. I'm also proud to be part of the Labor Party. We are investing heavily in our economy, in our health system, in our education system and in transport, and we will build stage 1 of light rail, and we've already made a commitment to deliver stage 2 of light rail. Since I've been elected, I've been advocating very strongly for Gungahlin. One of the first things I did was come to a GCC meeting, talk with the community about priorities. Roads was clearly a priority. Within about 3 weeks of being elected, I'd started a petition which received nearly 1,500 signatures around duplication of Gundaroo and Horse Park Drive. In the last 2 budgets, I've secured the funding for both of those. I also went around and met every school principal in the government and the non-government sector and spoke to them about what was important. They had 3 things: enrolment pressures around school drop-off and pick-up times, and the well-being of their students. Since then, I've worked with 2 education ministers, and in this year's budget, the government committed to $20 million in upgrades to Gungahlin schools. And as a new minister, I delivered the largest ever program in walking and cycling to school programs and infrastructure for schools across Canberra, but notably for a lot of government and non-government schools here. We have made a number of commitments already throughout the campaign. We're really looking forward to making more. 2 I'd like to announce here tonight. One is that Labor will duplicate Gundaroo Drive and William Slim Drive, and also the second one is that Labor will also establish a smart work hub here in the Gungahlin Town Centre to deliver more jobs for Gungahlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Deepak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deepak Raj Gupta. I'm a proud member of the Labour Party. And the reason I joined the Labour Party was because the work done in Gungahlin for the past 15 years. I've been resident here. My 2 children were born here. And I have seen Gungahlin and my kids growing together. So that's why I'm very passionate to work in this seat of Yerraby. Also, before we were coming into as I'm joining the party, I have done my work with the community. I've been a member of various NGOs for the past 15 years, and that got me connected to the community, the grassroots connection, which is very important to be, representing yourself somewhere. So my connection has been so big, and then my explaining is very little to the community. And apart from that, I have delivered. I have run in school. Everything I have done, I have delivered on time. I'm like a dog with a bone and something is assigned to me because I take ownership. Sorry? Okay. I take ownership of what I do. Apart from that, I've been a president of a business council for the past 7 years or so, and I've taken a few international delegation overseas and represented Canberra as an ambassador of Canberra all these years. So one of the things I'm passionate about Gungahlin is I think there's a great opportunity for Gungahlin to grow more. I agree with all the candidates who are saying they want roads, better school. We all want that. But apart from that, I also want to put some more businesses around here. With the light rail coming, I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to create economic corridor alongside the light rail. It's not only the outbound traffic we're looking also for the inbound traffic coming down there. With my work with the international companies, I think with the NBN, we can promote Gungahlin as an ICT hub, to have a small businesses, accounting firms, data mining firms, and so on. So what I'm going to bring to the Assembly is the vibrancy and the multicultural of Canberra. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deepak. David.
Dave Green, Liberal Democrats for Yerraby. So I have a small dog. I came downstairs a few days ago and it was growling at something out in the yard. I wasn't sure what it was. He's a dachshund Chihuahua cross, so he barks a lot at everything. I took a look out the window and it was you. It was your poster. Yes, the dog barked something about freezing rates and then I realised I have to get involved in this. So our concerns about Yerraby and Canberra more broadly in this election are around government overreach, defending individual civil liberties, and also common sense solutions to things like public transport and education and those types of things. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Paul.
Thank you, Peter. Hi. My name is Paul Gabriel. I'm a local resident of Gungahlin and your candidate for Sustainable Australia in the seat of Yerraby. I moved to Canberra in 2001 to study at the ANU and have called it home ever since. I completed a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and have been working at the ANU now for 9 years. When I'm not solving IT challenges, I love running, bike riding and going on adventures with my wife. Established in 2010, Sustainable Australia is a federally registered party, and this year we registered Sustainable Australia ACT for this election. We are a party from the political centre and aim to secure an economically, environmentally and sustainable Australia and ACT. In the ACT, we are campaigning on a number of key issues, and the leading 3 are saving Canberra from overdevelopment, lower rates and protecting our trees. We don't just focus on these issues. We have released a range of policies for the ACT, including economy and jobs, energy, the environment, gambling, housing, transport, the public service and community councils. Sustainable Australia is aiming to contest all 5 ACT electorates, and we have so far endorsed candidates in Currajong, Gungahlin, Murrumbidgee and here. At present, we're still determining whether we will run another candidate here in Yerraby to claim our own column on the ballot paper. If not, please look out for me, Paul Gabriel, on the right-hand side of the ungrouped. For full details on our candidates and policies, please visit our website, votesustainable.org.au/ACT. Thank you much for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Veronica.
Thanks. My name is Veronica Wensing. I'm a candidate for the Greens. First thing I'd like to do is actually acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Ngunnawal custodians. And I was speaking to an Ngunnawal elder recently, and she told me that Yerribi means, come on, let's go. So I think that's quite fitting for Gungahlin if you think about the speed of growth that we've had over the last 5 years. We've had like almost 45% increase in population. Along Harrison and along Flemington Road, the population is 1,500 people per square metre. That's why the Greens will be supporting a light rail system as part of a fully integrated transport system. And I'm telling you, we can have it all. We can also have increased access to health services and increased access to education. And as Megan said, we already invested $20 million in schools in Gungahlin to make sure that kids, that we can meet the growing demand for kids to be educated. I had such a long list of things that it was impossible to actually include them in 2 minutes, but I'll just touch briefly in dot point form on some of the other things that the Greens are committed to. First of all, we're calling for an integrity commission, or if you like, an ACT ICAC. We'd really like to clean up politics. We'd like more transparency. We'd like to ban developers from donating to political parties so that when decisions are made about developments and about residential developments, we know that they're transparent. We've got a very big commitment to housing affordability and to homelessness, and we want to invest more money in homelessness services and bring new and innovative ideas to housing affordability. My own background actually includes having worked in the community sector for over 20 years, where I've stood up for the disadvantaged, the marginalised, the ignored and the forgotten. And I can assure you that's something that I will continue to do if I have a position in the Assembly. I've recently had 5 years as a senior public servant as well, so I think that the combination of that experience places me well for this position. Thanks.
Thanks, Veronica. Andrew.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Braddock, and I'd just like to announce it here tonight. I live the Gungahlin suburban dream. I have the new 4-bedroom house, I'm married, I have the obligatory 2 kids and 2 dogs. So that's who I am. Why am I running? Well, firstly, because I'm disappointed in our representatives. I'm disappointed in the Labor Party that sides with the developers over you, the community. I'm disappointed in a Labor Party which has made Gungahlin have to play catch-up on critical infrastructure for so long. I'm also disappointed in a Labor Party that lets builders get away with shoddy and substandard work on buildings and homes. But if you think I'm disappointed about the Labor Party, it's nothing compared to how I feel about the Liberal and what they're saying about light rail. And I'm going to call it for what it is. It's bullshit. Thank you. The Liberals ran on a light rail platform in 2008. They are going to say anything to try and win this election, and I'm going to call them on that. They have divided the Canberra community, turning the south side of Canberra against light rail just because Stage 1 had the temerity to start in Gungahlin. So I will stand for you, the Gungahlin community, who incidentally I believe actually support light rail. The Greens are a party of putting the community first. We don't stand with the developers, with the big business, or for the pokies. We stand with you, the community. The Greens will put integrity back into politics by creating an ICAC and also banning developer donations to the political parties, which both Liberals and Labor supported. So I will put you, the Gungahlin community, first. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Andrew. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, so you'll have to be self-introducing.
Yeah, that's easy. Hi, I'm Tobias Holm, and I'm very sorry I've got little notes because I'm nowhere near as practiced at this as a lot of these other more professional sort of politicians. So good evening. I'm Tobias Holm. I'm running in Yerribi with the Greens. I grew up in remote Aboriginal communities in the middle of the Gibson Desert, and I have spent most of my adult life living in Canberra, where I manage a bookshop. So my experience managing a business has made me incredibly excited about, you guessed it, the light rail, and the opportunities that it can bring for local businesses, local jobs, and the local community. Businesses thrive along light rail lines. And you can see this happening on Flemington Road already. All the little businesses popping up in preparation. Guaranteed visibility with light rail means that more of us will be able to take that really big step and start that business that we've always dreamed about. So the dramatic change I had moving from the middle of the desert to Canberra made me very aware of the disadvantage that is present in our society, but it is not always obvious in everyday life. Too often we look past these issues until they affect us personally, issues such as homelessness, racism, or mental health. I myself have actually struggled living below the poverty line, having to scrounge for food to eat. But I've always been aware how incredibly lucky I actually am. I've always had a roof over my head, for instance. We all know someone whose life will transform with just a little bit of extra support. And I want to make sure that we can provide that support to everyone and change the world one person at a time. These experiences really capture why I am running for Yerrabi, to see our friends succeed, our families prosper, and our community flourish. And that's why I'm so proud to be running and having this opportunity to stand up with my community, and why I'm so proud to be standing with Veronica Wensing. She has many years' experience in addressing and fixing the issues that I care so much about. And I think she'll be a fantastic representative for us. So finally, I'd also just like to add that I am, as well as Andrew and Veronica, disappointed in the Labor and Liberal parties who worked together and voted together to remove the donation cap and to make political donations less transparent in the ACT. They are putting money ahead of people, and the Greens will always put community first. Thank you.
Thanks, Tobias. So, I do apologise to the candidates for only having 2 minutes, but that just having 2 minutes has run quite a long way into our session. But I think it's important to get things underway. I now have a few questions I'll ask from the chair. A lot of these have been provided through the community. I'll begin with a very challenging one. It's a show of hands question. Which of you who haven't already indicated, but for all of you, who lives in Gungahlin? Sorry, Yerrabi. I should care about the rest of the electorate as well. So, a large majority of that. So, thank you very much for that, candidates. Are you able to comment? Not sure.
Can I just say I only live 400 metres outside of Yerrabi?
Okay, close. All right, thank you. Another show of hands question, a little bit more policy-centric. Will you commit to keeping public assets in public hands? And this is possibly motivated by the recent sell-off of a lot of assets in other state governments. Show of hands, will you commit to keeping assets in public hands?
Depends what they are.
No, it depends on that. Okay, so let me. Any candidate would like to comment on that? Okay, can you grab the microphone from there? Can one of the gentlemen just rip that out of the stand gently? And then use the cable to snake it over. All right. So very quick answers. Yep. If you want to have a quick answer, we'll go with a quick answer.
That's okay, it's got a cord. Look, that is a very difficult question to answer. Can I give you an example? At the moment, the ACT government is replacing and renewing its public housing stock at a greater rate than we have ever done in the past. What that means is that we are selling some public assets in our public housing stock, but more importantly, what it means is that we're actually replacing even more public housing stock than we currently have. So if you were to ask that question and I was to say no, that would mean that we could not make the biggest ever impact on our public housing stock ever in Canberra. We couldn't provide public housing tenants with new, energy efficient, accessible homes. So I think it's a pretty difficult question to answer.
I agree, and a number of my questions are like that, so bear with me. If they were my questions, they'd be much better. Okay, so a quick one from Veronica, and I just want to avoid spending too long on any given topic. But yeah.
Sure. I just wanted to say that one of the things that the Greens have made very clear this week is that we're committed to continuing to fund the CIT. We don't want to see it privatised because we don't want people to end up with huge fees and no qualifications.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on that one? Nope. Good. Thank you. To both the Liberal and Labor Party, who've made announcements there, in the recent Gunsmoke magazine articles, which I encourage you to go and grab a copy of Gunsmoke, both parties indicated they were committed to duplicating Horse Park Drive in full. But in reality, if we look at the detail of both announcements, it involves only a large portion of Horse Park Drive, not all the way past Taylor and all the way past Throsby for the entire infrastructure. Horse Park Drive is a major thoroughfare for all of Gungahlin. What are each of your party's positions on duplicating all of Horse Park Drive? Alistair? Sure. Oh, sorry, someone from the Liberal Party.
Look, the Canberra Liberals
It'll be on.
Canberra Liberals are committed to. Canberra Liberals are committed to duplicating Horse Park Drive from Bonner through to the Federal Highway. There is a need to go beyond that. We accept. So we have announced that we would do design work beyond that. But at this stage, we think that there are some other roads in Gungahlin that are more worthy of the capital expenditure.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Another response of a question we wanted.
Thank you. As I mentioned, in this year's budget, we funded the duplication of Horse Park Drive from Majura Parkway all the way through to Mulligan's Flat Road in Bonner. I do note that the Canberra Liberals' commitment was to only fund it to Gundaroo Drive, but when they saw our commitment, they pushed it out a little bit further. We have been able to increase the design work in the current tender process so that the design work in this current tender round, which is underway, funded and will be delivered through to the northern end of Catherine Avenue. I certainly see in the longer term that it is a major road. It's a major freight route for the northern parts of Canberra as well, coming off the Barton Highway. As I mentioned earlier, Labor will duplicate Gundaroo and William Slim Drive, and we'll have further roads announcements later in the campaign. But I certainly have heard and have done as much as I think anyone can possibly do in 16 months to get real action on our roads here in Gungahlin.
Okay, thank you. Oop, I've got one. I'm good. I don't need no microphone. A question for the independent candidates. Should you win a seat in the electorate and you had the opportunity to determine the balance of power, how will you decide which party to support? Open to any independent.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to the question.
I can answer that one.
Microphone, please. It should be fine.
Is this one work? Working. Yes. Our response to that is that we would do what's best for the community. We have an overarching common sense thing, so if it makes sense for Gungahlin, if it makes sense for the seat we're standing for, if it benefits the community, then we say yes.
Okay. All right. Any other independents?
Yeah, I'll just...
Whoop, there's one there.
As an independent, as I mentioned at the start, I think that it's our role to hold the government and the opposition accountable. So I would support the government of the day with budget, with supply. However, I would stay outside of government. I would not take a ministry, and I would make sure that we're getting the best out of the government and the opposition at every turn along the way. I do think that we need a mass transit solution. I've got questions about light rail, but I do think we need a mass transit solution. And I wish that there was some flexibility on both sides of the politics, but at the moment, that's only being offered by one.
Okay, thank you. Any other minor parties like to contribute? Quick thought?
It's a bit of a complicated question for the Liberal Democrats because we have some things in common with both sides. Obviously, more in common with Labor on social policy, around drug law reform, that sort of thing. More in common with the Liberals on economics, free market solutions. I would say though that we do strongly oppose the light rail, so that would be a consideration, but it would be open to negotiation.
If elected for Sustainable Australia, we would align ourselves with whatever party best agrees with our own policies, and pretty much keep them honest with other decisions that have to be made.
Cool, thanks. Thank you. Right, we'll park that one and keep moving on. So one of the obvious challenges in Gungahlin and therefore the city of Yerraby is that we don't have a large government agency and therefore a large place of employment. So the questioner asks, how will we get more jobs into Yerraby? And that's an open question to any respondent. And I recognise David quickly. Yep.
I've already got the mic in hand.
Yep.
So this is, clearly we need jobs here. We're still getting more and more houses. We're getting population. And now we're trying to find ways to ferry that population to where the jobs are. So absolutely we need jobs here. One of the options that I'd like to pursue is hot desking, so that government workers could actually work from Yerraby regardless of their job. We don't necessarily have to bring whole departments out here. although there's benefits to that as well. But if we can just enable workers from wherever within government to leverage the NBN infrastructure and work from Gungahlin, that's one option I see as valuable.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll have a go there, Peter.
Yeah, sure, Joe.
I see the light rail delivering a whole lot of economic benefits to Gungahlin. On top of that, the Labor government has already opened the Access Canberra shopfront here with a government office block here. So we've moved government jobs out here already. There was a high prospect of getting a federal office or department moved out here when there was a Labor federal government. Since the coalition's come into power federally, that's become very much less likely. But next federal election, you might have a think about that.
Okay. Fortunately, many months away.
I would add to that one of our concerns is that Canberra is too dependent on federal government for work. We need to generate private sector work. It's that old saying that governments don't create jobs, businesses create jobs. So we need to look at ways to do that. I do agree, though, with the prospect of more hot desking, more working from home. That would also address a lot of the transport issues that seem to be driving this light rail fetish. People could work from home and there'd be less congestion on the road and better work-life balance, etc. So those two approaches. But the main focus that I have is actually, I run a private company in Canberra out of home. It's a software business and stimulating that sort of industry in Canberra as opposed to just relying on government. I really do think that is the way to go for the future. Thanks.
Okay, we'll have a chance for questions from the floor at the end, and I am keeping an eye on time with questions, so looking for a 1 minute response. 1 minute. James.
No doubt all of you were paying attention to the federal election. During that time, Zed Soldier announced that he was able to secure a possible federal government department or office block to be built or moved out to Gungahlin, thus providing a potential 300 to 600 jobs. Sorry? No, he's secured. He's secured. Now, the announcements will obviously come out
Let's
in
just
due
make
course.
sure the answer gets a chance to answer.
Cabinet already approved. Yeah, it's already been approved and it will happen shortly. The Canberra Liberals are also committed to bringing employment to the town centre. We have come out and announced that we will build a small hospital for the region, thus providing new doctors, nurses and other allied health professionals that will be located at the new hospital. I think it's also important that we need to...
It's 1 minute.
1 minute. I think it's also important that we need to work with business to help business grow and expand. We need to provide business in the Gungahlin Town Centre confidence that the government is committed to Gungahlin and will be doing what it can to help promote business and give businesses the opportunity to grow and develop. The current Labor government's lease variation charge is a big impost on new commercial development in town centres. Now, the Liberal Party recognises that and has come out and said that we would abolish the lease variation charge to encourage new commercial development in these town centres.
Thanks, James. One more? Yep.
Oh, great to hear Dave and, Dave and Dave, the two Daves. The Smart Work Hub, which I mentioned earlier, is exactly what you were talking about. And although I welcome the Commonwealth Liberal governments, I thought it was only 200 jobs. That was what was mentioned during the campaign period. The Labor government, after some time, decided to move 700 of its own staff out here in the Wynyard House office block. We've also established Gungahlin College, opened the Leisure Centre, the Community Health Centre, the Child and Family Centre, and supported communities at work to have an office administration centre in the Gungahlin Town Centre. But what a Smart Work Hub does is removes that issue of trying to get one particular department. And it's exactly what you said, Dave. It is a a location where the Commonwealth Government can establish a secure hub here where people from any department who might work 3 days a week in their normal home department in Tuggeranong or Woden or Civic or Barton, 1 day a week they could just drop into a Commonwealth work hub here. That's exactly what Labor will do. We can leverage the NBN, we can leverage excellent public transport infrastructure through the light rail. We see economic opportunities being driven by the light rail already. I speak with hundreds of people who are buying their first home and buying their first business on the light rail route because of the economic activity that it will drive. For our part, in terms of diversifying the economy, we have a really strong focus on our higher education sector, our innovation sector. Just to mention, Veronica, just to reassure you, there is no proposal to privatise CIT. Please do not be concerned about that. There is no proposal to privatise CIT anywhere. But the Smart Work Hub will deliver exactly that. We will work with the federal government to try and establish that both within Wynyard House and also with existing developments through the private sector we know are underway in Gungahlin.
Okay, thank you. Long minute. Anyone else on that one, just on development? Before
just on the business one.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Okay, right. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
All right, okay. Megan has answered
Right.
then.
Okay. How will we get more jobs in Yerrabee? You want to have 60 seconds on? The timer starts.
One of the things that the Greens would like to do is do a feasibility study into a multi-purpose sports hall for Gungahlin. We think that will generate some jobs as well, obviously in construction and also in ongoing maintenance. We'd also like to develop an ecotourism coordinator, and we'd like to also engage in some community debate about whether the whole border between along the ACT should be a national park, which would join up Kinleyside, Garuru, Mulligan's Flat and down to Mount Majura. And if we did that and we could bring ecotourism into this region as well to look at some of our superb wildlife. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll park that one. So it's a question directed at the Liberals. So someone from the Liberals can answer this. It's a two-barrel question. How much are you prepared to scrap light rail? And then assuming it does get scrapped, will you have a dedicated public transport right-of-way from Gungahlin to Civic?
The Canberra Liberals are committed to a door-to-door transport solution. We think the forced transfers at Gungahlin Town Centre onto a slower tram is not the solution for Gungahlin. We think we need to have local buses that go from each suburb and then become, in effect, express buses by using a right-of-way on Northbourne Avenue and Flemington Road. We've already put out a discussion paper on this, which have listed the options. We are committed to going ahead with that. It's just a matter of which particular option is chosen. But we'll go with the advice of the experts. Regarding how much we're willing to pay, well, given the first stage of light rail has a nominal cost of $1.78 billion for a slower mode of transport, we think it's irresponsible. The government has said that there is a gross figure of $230 million. That's not verified, but even if that is the case, the actual net impact will be considerably less than that because of the assets that would be taken on as a result of that terminate for convenience clause. However, it's worth noting that in the event that we do win the election, we would seek to rescope the contract to the construction of the bus lane and to any other appropriate works around Canberra, and therefore minimise the actual impact on the bottom line.
Yeah, the question was: is there a dedicated right-of-way?
We're committed to a bus lane on Northbourne Avenue. It's just a matter of whether that's curbside or in the median, and the same for much of Flemington Road. I don't think that the entire route justifies it at this stage, but we'll have more to say about that in the coming weeks.
Okay, thank you. Just no one can hear you remotely, so we just hold it. Well, so we're getting. I'm getting close to the end of my prepared questions, so I just have one other. Did any? That was a question directed at those candidates. So we got that. Okay, so the question relates to the Safe Schools program, which was supported by the federal government, and the current government, ACT government, stepped in when the federal government funding withdrew. And the question is, does the ALP intend to continue supporting the Safe Schools program? And the same question directed to the Liberal Party. So, someone from the... Yep.
Yes, absolutely. We do. We support it because we support all students in schools. One of the things, as I mentioned earlier, in talking to all principals at all levels, primary, secondary, non-government and government schools, was the well-being of their students, particularly the mental well-being of their students. If there is a program that exists that is proven to promote inclusive schools, open-minded kids, and to welcome children who are struggling with their identity, struggling with their sexuality, then we will continue to support that strongly. There is evidence that many young people who are gay, in particular, have very serious mental health concerns. Many of them consider suicide. This program is found to be effective. It is evidence-based, and we will continue to support it, and the ACT government has already said that if funding is withdrawn from the Commonwealth, we will step in and fund that program ourselves.
Thank you. Response, Liberals?
The Commonwealth Government did do a review into the Safe Schools program and made some recommended changes. The Canberra Liberals believe that the bullying in all its forms is abhorrent, and we have to do whatever we can to remove it from our society. With regard to the Safe Schools program specifically, we just want to make sure that all sexualised content is age appropriate. We want to make sure that the program is targeted to the right age groups and to the right students. So therefore, we would keep a watching brief on it. But at this stage, no, we're not proposing to abolish it.
Thank you. Any other candidate with any quick comments on that one? Or we good? All right. I have the radio mic for the audience. So if there are any questions from the audience, we're happy to take those now. So my lovely assistant, Henley, will organise that.
I might need to ask some questions.
So this gentleman with the glasses, and then Darren.
Yep. Hello, my name's Jason. In relation to democracy, best practice democracy really requires transparency with the electorate. I'm quite frustrated with with the response the Liberal Party gave to my question about your candidate, Amanda Lynch, in that she's ducked and weaved on whether she does in fact live in the electorate. So my question to Alistair Coate, Deputy Leader of the Opposition and his fellow candidates, do you honestly expect us to believe that you don't know whether your fellow candidate in this electorate even lives in this electorate? You said you don't know. There are 4 of you there. Do you honestly believe us to buy that?
Look, if the question is where is she enrolled, I'm not sure. She has a house in the inner south, but I know that she spends a lot of time living with her sister in Ford.
Okay. So to be clear, she lives on the opposite side of town in an area not... so there's a potential bias there with her on the light rail issue, isn't there? She's inner south, she doesn't live here, she's inaccessible to the community in this electorate. Could you honestly not find other candidates that are willing to turn up here tonight and have a long affinity with the electorate?
Well, to be honest, I think it's pretty unfair. I think she's got a lot to add. She's got tremendous experience in business. She's got a genuine commitment to Canberra and to Yerrabee. And quite frankly, I think having a go at her when she's not here is not appropriate.
Okay, I think we'll move on to the next question. Thank you. Yeah, the gentleman, the glasses, the puffer vest thing. And I haven't missed you. There's a lot of folk out there.
Hi, Scott Hooper, very long-term Canberra resident and district of Gungahlin, over 20 years in the Gungahlin district. The rationale for my question is based on my longevity here. In my opinion, the Gungahlin shopping precinct lacks character and charm. It is rapidly turning into a grey, cold, concrete, functional locality devoid of fun and happiness. It effectively sucks away the soul. We need to make the premier shopping precinct in the Gungahlin district a place that encourages people to Gungahlin, not a place that encourages people to go elsewhere. An example of what I mean would be to turn Gungahlin Place into a pedestrian-only zone that is well grassed with seats and natural shade. I mean trees by that. Some of the good restaurants in the district could be encouraged to move and locate in those shops around the Gungahlin Place. We would then have a place that would encourage children to play, a place where we could congregate in the evening around the restaurant district. So my real question, and I think it's addressed to James if I've got to limit it to one person, but I'd like more comments on that. What is your plan to make Gungahlin Shopping Precinct a pleasant place to visit, work and live? In other words, what is your plan to change the perception of Gungahlin as Gungasley?
Harsh. James.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question, and it is a good question, and I've felt passionately about what we can do for business and do for the local region that we live in our town centre. I think what's been missing lately is consultation with the community, consultation with business. We really need to get out there, discuss with business what is inhibiting you from growing, from developing, from creating new employment opportunities. So I think we need to consult with business to find out what they need. I personally think that we need to look at the Gungahlin Town Centre as a whole and come up with a new plan. I mean, the current Labor government had approved a Bunnings site to move in beside Magnet Mart. I honestly don't think that we need 2 hardware stores in the town centre. One of them's closing. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with that centre there? We need to diversify our business base in Gungahlin, offer more opportunities to our residents, so we can stop exporting our residents every day. If we want to go shopping or get certain things, we can't get them all in Gungahlin. We have to leave the region. So I think we need to look at Gungahlin. What does it need to be sustainable in its own right? Discuss with business, discuss with the community, and come up with a new plan for Gungahlin to give business the opportunity to really grow and expand.
Okay. I'll give you 30 seconds. How's that? All right. Go on to this new
as somebody who's worked at the Gungahlin, my first job was at the Gungahlin News Agency, and I've since worked at the Sunglass Hut in Gungahlin. I have 3 years retail experience working at Gungahlin, and I can empathise that it's disconnected, it's hard to get around. I personally don't know what the solution is, but as a minor party, we care about the community, and we think that it could be a great, lively place for the community instead of somewhere that's dead. And I had to work Friday nights in Gungahlin up till 9. I don't know what time they're open till. I don't know. I had to work late on Friday nights there, and I just fell asleep, to be honest. Okay. So anything we can do to improve that, I'm all behind.
Okay, thank you. David, and then Megan.
Very quickly. Yeah, I think your suggestions for Gungahlin Place are pretty good. At the moment, there is a proposal to incorporate a bus interchange into Gungahlin Place, which is interesting. It's got merit, but I'd like to see some alternates as well. The other thing is, though, do you know that we've got a town square in Gungahlin? next to the college. I would really like to see the activation of that. I've been talking with somebody about an event there, Gungahlin Live, where we showcase some local live talent there. We need to do something, and we've got the space to do it, and there's an appetite to do it as well.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Megan? Yep. Talking stick, please. Oh, you got a talking stick? There should be one hiding. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Last year when I was elected, I did a survey on the Gungahlin Town Centre on Hibberson Street in particular. Some of you may have filled it in, 750 people did. It said that very clearly we want Hibberson Street to be a pedestrian priority zone. There's consultation out at the moment with 3 proposals for the lower end of Hibberson Street. I agree about Gungahlin Place. It was built at the time of drought. Even the public art there, the sort of the steel and rock public art, was supposed to have grass beneath it. But at the time of drought, that wasn't really a sustainable option for us. Times have changed. Gungahlin Place has enormous opportunity. When the leaves come out, people love it. They love the village feeling. I am concerned about removing all traffic from Gungahlin Town Centre, particularly at night. The passive surveillance that can be offered by cars travelling through the town centre in a much reduced volume is important for surveillance, important for safety, particularly for women and young women at night.
Thank you. Anyone else for a very quick one on this topic? Otherwise, we'll want to get moving.
Yes, I actually think it's a fantastic idea to get as many cars out of the town centre as possible. What we're really looking at is trying to get the culture there. It's not just, as the Liberals are saying, we'll talk to businesses. For economic growth, you don't want to increase bigger businesses. We don't need another Bunnings or another Woolworths. What we need are lots of local businesses. Now, the light rail is going to contribute to this massively, but it's also an opportunity to have people will be getting on and off the light rail in the town centre. So they'll be there. Why can't we add other things there as well for people to do before they go home? Community gardens, for instance. I don't know why that'd be quite fun. Have people coming in, growing their own vegetables. But I think we really need to have something in the town centre that brings people in, that isn't just another Woolies, another Coles. We need the life, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Next question for is Darren. I only use his name because I know it.
Yeah, unfortunate, isn't it? I have just 2 quick questions. My first one is for Megan about that bus station. We've spoken before about it, and I've spoken to a number of people about that bus station, and I don't think that Gungahlin Place is the best place for that station. I think that across the road from the cinema would be a better place for a combined park and ride, as well as the bus station there. As well as maybe even a secondary short stop for the light rail, just to keep the traffic out of the main centre of Gungahlin. And I know that it's not easy, and I know that a lot of planning has gone into that bus station, but as I said, in regards to the independent as well, that basically I think that a secondary location needs to at least be considered, particularly because of the pedestrian activity that's in that zone. But my main question I think that has to be clarified within the Gungahlin people is 80%, I think it was 75 to 80% of the Gungahlin community have been surveyed by an independent body, the Gungahlin Community Council, whether or not they want light rail. Now, they have voted that in that survey that they really want light rail. They think it will be beneficial to Gungahlin. I do not understand for the life of me who the Liberal Transport Minister is against this project so much when you're supposed to represent the people of this community. And yet even when the majority of the community is against this proposal, is for this proposal, that you remain against it. What I want to know is why has the Liberal Party not been honest with the people of Gungahlin and the Canberra community about the actual costs of the light rail project? I think I heard the other day it was $14 billion or something.
Darren, you'll have to close on a question.
So can you please tell me how much is a light rail actually going to cost? Is it going to be $178 million or is it going to be $14 billion?
Okay, so did you want to ask a question to Megan about the bus station and then on the light rail?
I think both should answer those because I think they're fundamental to Gungahlin. One of them is that why would you be against a light rail if 80% of Gungahlin are for it?
Yeah, the key takeaway, let's try to get the questions quickly. So, Alice, do you want to respond first and I'll come back?
Look, I too have concerns about the buses on Gungahlin Place. I think they are better on Hibberson Street. I think there are some improvements that could be made with regard to how they operate on Hibberson Street, but I think that is preferable. Look, with regard to light rail, I accept that there are lots of people who like it, and I think it's fair to say that there are lots of people who don't. We're being honest with Canberrans and saying exactly what we'll do if we get elected. And I understand that some people don't like that.
Please don't interject. Let him finish. Can you please let him finish?
The first part of the question about light rail was we're not being honest. Well, we are being honest. We're telling you exactly what we'll do if we're elected regarding light rail. The nominal cost of stage one of light rail is $1.78 billion. That's in the Auditor General's report. Nobody disputes that. The nominal cost. The nominal cost of the contract, that's right. So last week, I believe there was an ex-Treasury official who wrote that an ACT-wide network would be $14 billion.
Please stop interjecting and let him answer.
You know, ultimately, the cost for the terminate for convenience is not going to be known until the time of actually exercising that clause, if it's exercised. However, as I've already said, our preference is a door-to-door solution. Buses that go from individual suburbs through to the destination without the need for transfer. And in addition to that, we believe that rescoping the contract to other infrastructure needs would be a worthwhile thing to do for not just for Gungahlin, but indeed for all of Canberra.
Okay. Thanks, Alistair. Megan? Because the question was directed. So, bus station, and I guess it doesn't make sense to talk about
bus station.
The second.
Darren, you know there's been a lot of conversation about this, that the town centre has a lot of work underway and a lot of work planned. There's a lot of consultation going on around the bus station. I'd be really interested to hear from you how we do consultation better. There's a lot of information out there. I know Mark puts a lot of information out through My Gungahlin, so does the Community Council. We still find we can't get to everyone. So that's a question I have. How can we do it better? How can we reach you better? On light rail, I want to be really clear that the costs of the contract are over 20 years. It's like the cost of building a school, funding the teachers, funding the maintenance, funding the improvements over a 20-year period. It's exactly what the community say they want, long-term planning and whole-of-life costs. That is what we are delivering with light rail. We're also delivering a transport solution. I'm really disappointed to hear from Alistair tonight that there is still no solution for Flemington Road. Light rail on Flemington Road will deliver for you economic opportunity, mass public transport, trees along Flemington Road, right-of-way for public transport. It will make cars travel from from Gungahlin to Civic quicker. There is no way in peak time that you will be able to get from Gungahlin to Civic in under 24 minutes, which is the Liberals' claim that light rail will be slower. It will not. Light rail is a guaranteed travel time of 24 minutes from Gungahlin to Civic. Anyone in here who travels from Gungahlin to Civic now at peak time could not possibly make it in 24 minutes now, will definitely not be able to make it in 24 minutes in a year, in 2 years and 3 years. They have no solution for Flemington Road, no solution for Northbourne Avenue. They'll have buses on Northbourne Avenue and buses in the median. Bikes will be in chaos because they'll still be trying to get past buses on Northbourne Avenue. The Liberals' plan will turn Northbourne Avenue into a 2-lane road for cars because it'll be clogged up with buses. Can I also say this issue of transfer, while the Liberals talk about a door-to-door solution, that's a furphy. You all know that buses cannot travel from door to door. Public transport can't do that. What mass public transport can deliver is a key transport spine. We are working on solutions to the last mile, as people say. I'd also like to mention, they talk about not wanting to transfer people out of public transport, but they're willing to transfer people out of one emergency department to another. I really want to caution you against the pretend hospitals that the Liberals are proposing. They will have ambulances driving past these pretend emergency departments in the suburbs. So they're not willing for you to transfer from one public transport mode to another, but they are willing to transfer patients from one pretend emergency department to a real one. I think that's of huge concern.
Okay, so let's just, in responding, let's try and stay on question. If the audience wants to take us to a new topic, then that's cool. The lady here in the florally... with the microphone. Follow the microphone.
I think...
you were going back into the middle here. The gentleman with the glasses behind the guy in the high-vis vest. All right, we'll go back. Okay, the microphone's one.
Thank you.
Okay, go.
So firstly, I think that I am the youngest person in this room, so I'd like to ask about questions that are actually affecting... I'm 20. Pardon? I'm 20. Okay, you are. Okay. I want to ask you about things that are affecting me. So first I'd like to tell you a few things. I went through schooling throughout all of Canberra. When I was struggling with my sexual ambiguity, I was called an abomination by my teacher. I would also like to say that I have needed mental health care in Canberra, which has been incredibly appalling, and you will also be cutting funding to Headspace, I believe. That's something that was announced this year. I live on Flemington Road, and I love the tram, so to say that people on Flemington Road aren't necessarily 100% behind it is an absolute crock of shit. I'd also like to say I have been in continual employment since I was 13 until this morning. I have never been able to apply for any sort of government assistance because my father worked for the public service and because I lived with him. And I couldn't afford to move out of home because there's no housing affordability, there's no housing accessibility. So I have been forced to stay with my father and then be told I can't receive any benefits.
Question?
Because, oh, okay. So how do you feel about things that are actually affecting the young people? Housing affordability, 17 grand in debt when you haven't finished a degree, living on Flemington Road and accessing these things that obviously you guys don't live on Flemington Road but you have opinions about. What's the deal here? Does anyone have an opinion on what?
Yeah, so the question is directed to anyone?
The question is directed to anyone that might want to answer it or anyone that has the guts to answer it.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Yep. Volunteers? Yep. Dave's in.
Say a couple of things. Thank you very much. Excellent points all around. My daughter's 4, my son's 1. I feel pretty young myself, but I'm 34 now, so not quite 20. But absolutely, it's. I think I was at the Youth Coalition's forum, and everyone seems to be on the same page that we need to be proactive about mental health for everyone, including youth, and reactive as well. We need support networks, but we also need to be heading off the problems before they're happening. And it's all part of the bigger picture as well. We need safe spaces in schools. We need good education. We need public transport so that people who don't have their licence yet can get to recreation, can get to jobs. It's a bigger picture situation. Absolutely, it's something that one of the reasons that I'm running is I want my children to grow up healthy, happy, in a good, strong community, and I want to stand up and do my best to make that happen. They've got a couple of years before they get to that point, but absolutely, I think there's a big groundswell towards addressing the types of things that you're saying. There's no one solution for it because it is a big problem. It's a multifaceted problem, but it's something that I know it's important to me, critical to me, and I know that it's critical to a lot of other candidates as well.
Thank you, David. Veronica, and then Megan. I keep looking over the top.
Can I speak as well? Yeah.
Sorry, I can't always see.
No, you go first, I'll go after.
Okay, but we're over on Veronica.
Thanks. I'd just like to say that the Greens have already made a commitment, and I think last week, to invest $4 million in mental health services for students, which will be provided through community services, but will be working very closely with schools. We've also announced another $2 million to introduce respectful, or continue to do respectful relationships programs in schools. Because we believe that respect is a sort of basic tenet that should be, that every young person should have and every adult should have for that matter. And also because it's a lack of respect that often results in some of the issues that you've described. And my mind just went blank. I had more to say, but that's okay.
Okay. Back to Megan.
Sorry,
Kate. Okay, well,
we have quite a young party. We're all about trying to get people that aren't middle-aged into Parliament, even if it's just running to get a voice. A lot of our policies, one of our great ones that I personally love, is to try and reduce rego for young people. So things like, I know that accessing health services when you're in school is so difficult because trying to get a bus from school to Headspace if you work or if you live anywhere other than Belconnen is almost impossible in your free periods, in your lunch periods, etc. So a lot of our things are targeted towards getting young people mobile. I really congratulate you on having a job from when you were 13 till now. I can't say the same for myself because I've had gaps here due to transport issues. And we're all about getting young people heard, getting young people mobile, and trying to get them, because there are those services there, but it's just so hard to access the services. So a lot of our policies are around trying to get young people mobile so they can access those services.
Okay, thank you. Megan?
Thank you.
Last on
Just
this.
a few comments. Firstly, last week, Labor announced that we will build a child and adolescent mental health unit at the Centenary Hospital for Women and Children. That's based on a lot of feedback from people within the system, families from within the system who have had good services supported but really felt there was a need for a child and adolescent mental health unit to provide shorter and longer term stays. So Headspace was cut by the federal Liberal government as they cut many community services, just like Headspace, community legal centres and other health services as well. From our point of view, Labor is very strongly supportive of penalty rates. For a lot of young people working weekends, working shift work, working after hours, penalty rates can make a difference. That's something that the Labor Party has been very consistent on supporting.
Okay, thanks, Megan. And Jacob?
Look, I would like to particularly answer about the housing affordability. It's one of the major issue here, particularly in this electorate. I mean, when we constantly contact the constituents, one of the main issue we come across was the housing affordability. I mean, the issue is the availability of land, affordable land, and that's the number one issue here. I mean, I'll give you an example. In Throsby, people pay $1,000 per square meter. $1,000 in Throsby recently. Whereas if you move across the other border in Gungahlin, you get it $450, $500 per square meter. And that's the huge difference. So the issue is availability of cheaper land. Canberra Liberals understand, and we acknowledge that. And we will have a pool of land pool to have a cheaper, affordable land at a cheaper price. A pool of land bank. So that's what we will have. And, so to tackle the housing affordability issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. All right, we might park that one. You'll need a microphone. I'm sorry. There's one over there. Just someone's holding it. There we go. So
Okay.
Quickly, please.
Yes, right. So mental health is incredibly important, and there is nowhere near enough support for it in Canberra right now. I work on a university campus, and I deal with students all the time who are struggling. For instance, there were huge cuts to Centrelink this year. So there are almost 100,000 students still waiting in end of April, early May, for youth allowance to start their year. So heaps and heaps of students had to drop out of universities because they could not afford to stay there. They had to find a job, they had to try and pay the rent, and this ties into cuts to services that the Liberals always do, and we know it's going to happen again here. But community housing is really important in this, and this is something the Greens are committed to. We want to make sure that there is affordable housing for people to rent and live in. And to talk about making cheap land available, well, we both know that since New South Wales property donations were banned, property developer donations were banned in New South Wales, a lot of those donations are now going straight to the ACT Liberal Party. So for them to say that they're going to have cheap land, it's not going to be for you. It's not. So, anyway.
Okay, thank you. Gentleman in the high-vis vest, and then behind.
My question's directed to Alistair, being the opposition treasurer and transport spokesman. I'm a former Liberal Party member and a long-term Liberal voter, but I want to know what the true cost of your Liberal bus network will be over the same 20-year period as the light rail network, given that the Liberals breaking the light rail contract will result in every single new contract that the government enters into, including a fudge factor or an increase in costs from bidders given the uncertainty in dealing with the territory in the future.
Look, we don't accept that it will lead to inflation for other contracts. This is, of course, a one-off. This is not an everyday occurrence. This is a very significant event. We think, given Canberra's waited 103 years for light rail, it would have been wise for the government to have put off signing the contract for another 5 months and given the people of Canberra the opportunity to have had their say on this. I think it.
Please don't interject.
I think it is. I think that claim is incorrect. The cost of the net cost of the additional rapid services is in the vicinity of $20 million a year. in the vicinity of that. And the reason why it's in that vicinity is because the government has recently announced several other routes which are very similar to what we've announced. So therefore the net impact keeps going down as the government announces, in effect, parts of our bus policy.
Right, okay, all right, folks, let's please not just ask. There's a sequence of people who've asked to ask questions, so let's do that rather than just yelling out from the floor. So in the middle still, but immediately behind. Yep. All right, thank you.
Tim Bohm here from the Canberra party. I didn't realise all the candidates were getting up. I just thought it was one or the other, or a couple. Anyway, my question is to the Greens and to the Liberals, who both said that they want an ACT ICAC. So off the top of your head, what would you like investigated straight up? Thank you.
Great question.
Well, I just mentioned one. Property developer donations to parties. That's one. Well, the Liberal Party in particular.
So hang on. So
it's interesting to note that the CFMEU is a property developer and, of course, donate to the Greens. Look, one such issue that I think does need to be investigated would be the acquisition of a block of land in Glebe Park. The Auditor General is currently doing an inquiry into that acquisition. I think it's very, very suspicious. Initial valuation of $1 million was placed on that block of land. It had no residential rights, yet a subsequent valuation was done, and it said if you did 122 apartments on that block, it would be worth $4.2 million, despite the fact that the lease didn't actually allow that. As a result, the government did pay $4.2 million, and that's why the Auditor General is doing an investigation into that. I believe there are numerous other transactions that generally involve the LDA that are very questionable, and as more information about these is coming to light, we'll be making them public.
So just for clarity, so you answered the question. You actually are a candidate for Werribee. Okay. So let's be a little bit clear about that, so we understand. We had the gentleman behind you, Damien, who had his hand up earlier.
Hi, good evening. Thanks to all of you for coming out. I had a question. Could I just get firstly, just a show of hands, if we have any candidates under the age of about 35? All right. And just do we have any? Do any of you guys have any plans for making Gungahlin Town Centre not a ghost town after 10:30? On any Thursday, Friday, Saturday night,
Okay, that's the question. And just anyone. Okay, anyone want to have a shot at that one? Did you want it directed to anyone? Just okay. Yep, off you go, Casey. Drive in.
As the youngest person running here, I really loved the opening of Young and Frisky. I don't know if anybody's been out there, but it's a new bar that's opened. That's helped a bit. It's still kind of, you don't really want to end up at the Raiders Club as a young person at the end of the night. That's not. It's like the Mooseheads of Gungahlin, the Raiders Club. But I think with bringing the tram in, could see the potential to also bring in new businesses such as new bars. There's been a huge surgence with the college going in. I've noticed in the past, say 5 years, of a huge surgence of coffee places have opened up, and hopefully with all the new apartments and all the new buildings, we'll see as the need is there that the growth of also other businesses will pick up in the area.
Okay. Thanks, Casey. Any other quick ones? Yep. Megan?
I'm well above that age of 35. When I first ran in for the Assembly in 2012, I started a campaign across the community to get land released in the town centre for a cinema, and we were successful in doing that. The cinema development application is likely to go in I think they came to the meeting last month and said it'll be in this month. That cinema will generate not just a cinema complex but a whole lot of other entertainment options, and that was exactly why I ran that campaign in 2012, was because it needed some more anchor points like a cinema. Young and Frisky's opened. I do know that the marketplace are looking to redevelop develop Gungahlin Place for nightlife. Gungahlin Town Centre, Gungahlin Place, livening up the whole town centre is something I've been working on for many years.
Okay. Anyone else with a quick question?
As I was saying before, that what Gungahlin Town Centre needs is the more business, and the private businesses will come. It will create those jobs and that vibrancy. One of the things I want to try in Gungahlin is a night market, in the summer times. That will also have a better use of light rail, people coming from city to the town centre to enjoy, because we have a very multicultural, diverse community in Gungahlin. And I've organized multicultural festival like Curry Festival and all, and I've seen the response. So it'll be good to have a night market with the people, with the different community, to showcase their cuisine and the culture as well, and that will bring the nightlife in Gungahlin market, I suppose.
Okay. Thank you. Let's try and get back to... Yep, Justin.
I just wanted to say that we're in regular discussions with small business people, and we know they want to do more in the town centre. There are some good examples of Young and Friskies and Siren Bar, which are trading very well and are adding life here. But we really need to listen to our small business people and what they want. And one of the things they're saying is there's a lack of certainty. There's a lack of a master plan for Gungahlin, which is impeding a lot of things. Some of them are also worried about the disruption that will occur from light rail to their trading. It'll cause a lot of... You can talk to them and they tell me this. Also, there's been a lot of bad planning decisions, such as the Bunnings site being put there. That would have been a perfect spot for some kind of entertainment venue and to liven it up. Instead, it's become a bottleneck, and a lot of business people say very, very hard to get around there, hard to find parking, travel around it and the like. It just should have been at Mitchell. So that's just the kind of example. Plus, some really big office towers being built right on the edge of that site there, which could have been put into all sorts of better developments, medium-rise hotel or whatever with bars. So that's something that basically that's under Labor's watch. A lot of things have been done wrong and not full opportunity given to business people to be creative.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So Damien, and then the gentleman over here in the hat.
I was glad to hear James talk about consultation earlier, and I was very interested in the Chief Minister's comments about expanding the way that community consultation will be, hopefully in the next Assembly, looking at different demographics and expanding the reach. And James discussing consultation is interesting because I posted a comment on his Facebook page where he had a picture that said, "Hospitals, not trams." My comment was not trollish, was not offensive, yet it was not answered and it was deleted and I was blocked. I understand that there are I understand there are many people, and if you look at other Facebook pages, this seems to be a constant thing. My question is this a type of community consultation that the Canberra Liberals propose by just ignoring people and only listening to the voices that they want to hear?
Well, I don't mind consulting with our residents and with business and everyone else, but when it becomes personal and it's personally attacking you and insulting you, I don't think anyone should really put up with that. I'm happy...
Careful. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess that's up to our own interpretation of it, but...
Damien, just let it answer the question and then we'll see where we go to after that.
Yeah. So, look, I am for consultation with the community in any which way or form. I respect other people's opinions on different matters and issues. I'm not saying we have all the right answers. I'm not saying the opposition has all the right... the government has all the right answers either. But I will consult with people. I respect your opinion and do it in a calm and patient manner. But what was posted on Facebook was not in a calm and patient manner. There was personal attacks.
Okay. Okay. I ask if there's a discussion that needs to be had between an individual and an individual candidate. I ask you to take that elsewhere. I understand the principle of the question of deleting stuff, and I'm not sure what that got completely addressed, but I do know there's a question from the gentleman in the hat. So we'll move on to that. Thanks.
Can you please stop recording the audience? Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Ezekiel Hart. I am a candidate
independent for the Ginendera electorate. My question goes to the independent candidates. Of course, the parties could also answer. Given that there is a need to assign money at various stages, and everyone said they will assign this, and the effect of it is that there is more likely going to be burden on the people themselves, that is increasing rates. What are the initiative or development which each person contesting have put forward to generate revenue and job to tackle the effect of increase in rate on the resident? Thank you.
Directed to the independents. So, David.
So the question is, how would I, as an independent, generate revenue and bring jobs in? Okay, yeah, I knew that the job was going to be hard, but I didn't realise it was going to be quite that. As an independent, as a crossbench, I think our biggest role to play is tempering the major parties. I think it is steering the government. In fact, it's the previous question about consultation. I think this is where crossbench and independents, grassroots candidates, the ones who are living in the community, that's where they've got something. They've got an agility that the major parties just don't have. So when it comes to revenue, jobs, spending, budgets, things like that, I think it is a bit much to ask an independent to change the world in that regard. But what we do is, as I said, bring that community voice to every other decision, to the budget consultation process, to the transport consultation process, to the jobs process.
Thank you. Any other independents? Nope.
Maybe the other minors.
All right. If you're going to contribute something in 30 seconds, we don't want to go too long.
The question's a little bit back the front in that, how would you get revenue to pay for the rates? Our policy is that you freeze the rates at current levels. You don't increase the rates. You don't increase revenue to fund more rates. You freeze the rates and you learn to live within your means. And you prioritise spending on areas that are actually needed. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the short answer. Casey?
You can go first.
Nope.
Thank you.
Paul?
So one of our key policies is also to maintain the current rates and to stop them from increasing. So part of that is just to stop big spending on infrastructure that has to be then somehow be paid for. So living within your means, and it's pretty much then we have to drive them up to pay for the stuff.
Thank you. All done? Okay,
one of our policies is to reduce the election bonus of every party that gets over a 4% preference gets $8 per vote. That rose from $2.50 in the last local election. So that's something that we've already implemented as one of our main policies to help boost even that little bit back into the thing. And other than that, it's all consultations from now onwards. But that's our main thing that we've already put forth to take money out of politicians' back pocket and put actually back into the community.
Okay. All right. Veronica, quickly.
That was actually something that the Greens campaigned against in the last government. But I just wanted to say as well that whilst you might have experienced your rates rising, there have been a number of other things coming down. So stamp duty has gone down, and insurance, there's no tax on insurance policies either. So it is a bit of a quid pro quo thing. So therefore I think the question actually in terms of, what's going to be done to generate revenue, to compensate, is a little misguided in itself because it's already a kind of revenue neutral proposal.
Okay, thank you. Just next question, the gentleman behind the gentleman in the hat, so right in the back, near back row.
Good evening. I'm David Swanton. I head up Philip Nitschke's Euthanasia group here in Canberra. We consider individual rights to be really important. So I'm interested to know who here is supportive of voluntary euthanasia, given that there is a way around it, the federal government's Euthanasia Laws Act. So who would support voluntary euthanasia? And there are options. So hands up for voluntary euthanasia support. So that's mainly the Greens and a bit of Labor and what party are you, sorry?
I'm like Canberra and
Independent.
Thank you very much. And the other issue, even though it's a federal government issue at the moment, is the issue of same-sex marriage, an issue of equality of humans, something so fundamental. Who here is supportive of same-sex marriage and equality of marriage? So the question is, thank you very much, the question is to the Liberals, why don't you support equality of humans?
Volunteer to address the question.
Equality of humans, wow. Firstly, regarding voluntary euthanasia, I lost my mother last year to cancer. She was only 75 and she was only given 12 months and she only had 12 months. Now, I saw her go through a lot of pain, a lot of pain. We all here complain when we have a cold and we have it for 24 hours or 2 days and we think it's unbearable, we're in the bed. She had pain 24 hours, 7 days a week for 6 months. She went through hell. She really did. I didn't like seeing her like that, and she said to me numerous times, you know, I wish I could just end it now. She said that it feels like that I'm just waiting here to die. Now, there's two sides to this argument. However, I'm new to politics. I'm not in yet. Hopefully I will be after October. However, I would be looking into this anyway from a personal perspective as well as at a professional level. I don't have the answers which one way or the other. I need to learn more about the topic. I need to talk to specialists. I need to talk about doctors. I need to talk about who is able to make that decision or not. So for me to give you an answer on the spot right now, I can't. I need to learn more about the subject. And regarding the same-sex marriage debate, a plebiscite is scheduled or is meant to be scheduled for next year. However, the Labor Party at the federal level is not supporting that in the Senate. That is a federal matter and that's being discussed there and it might go to a plebiscite in due course.
Okay, thank you. Still a gentleman in a pink shirt. I think it's pink, it's hard to tell. Yep. And any other questions in the queue? Down the front.
Thank you. Someone made the point about the density of residences on Flemington Road. People may or may not be aware, Gungahlin was specifically developed on the basis that it was the first town centre in the ACT to include both residential and commercial in the town centre. The density on Flemington Road is precisely because Flemington Road was designed to be the route of the first mass transit system in the ACT. And in the mid-1990s, the then ACT Department of Environment, Land and Planning was to be moved to the Gungahlin town centre as it developed. In the mid-1990s, there was an election and the Liberals were elected. They cancelled the light rail development. They cancelled the move of DELP, but they couldn't change the planning, so that's why the tram is now to be there. In the mid-1990s, a federal Liberal government and an ACT Liberal government drove the ACT into recession. My question to the Liberals is, why would anyone in the ACT choose to do it again? And for the purpose of disclosure, my name is David Wedgwood and I was the Chief of Staff to the first ACT Chief Minister.
Well, I think there are a couple of things to say. Firstly, it's actually only until relatively recently that the Labor Party's actually started to support light rail as well. So it's hardly that the Labor Party's had a consistent position on light rail for 25 years. The Liberal Party in 2008 did call for an engineering study into light rail, and we're pleased that engineering study has been completed. However, I think it's quite clear that the project doesn't stack up, but I understand many people think otherwise. The corridor of Flemington Road is not dissimilar to many other corridors around Canberra that have been designed to accommodate rapid transit. There are multiple modes of rapid transit, of which light rail is one. I would say that, for instance, you look at what the government's proposing for stage 2, is a tram from Woden to the city really going to be any faster than the buses down Adelaide Avenue? And the same, I think, can be said for Gungahlin to the city.
Timing plus. Next question was down in the front rows. Actually, Ian had a question before then. Sorry, Ian. But then we'll come down the 2 or 3 in the front row. Just mindful of time, so if we could keep zipping through the questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the parties to look at the road network out of Gungahlin, and one specific issue that I would bring up is Coringa Drive and the intersections of Owen Dixon and Kingsford Smith. Now, both of those intersections are absolutely terrible and dangerous to the extent where accidents are fairly regular there, and some of those accidents are quite serious. There doesn't appear to be anything happening, and I'd like to hear from the parties what they intend to do with those intersections.
I guess it's a government response and an opposition response, and anyone else quickly?
Thanks, Ian. Like I mentioned earlier, we will have some roads commitments more fully coming out in the next couple of weeks. Certainly Coringa Drive is on my mind. What is also on my mind around that particular area, though, is the CSI Road Gungahlin site. Now, for those of you who are not aware, the Commonwealth, the federal Liberal government rushed very quickly through a planning process which has now rezoned the Gungahlin site for urban use. Now, in a comparable process through the ACT planning system would probably take close to a decade. The federal Liberal government has done it in about 12 months. So the CSI Road Gungahlin site is now zoned for urban use. The Commonwealth have sought development partners with the CSIRO. The CSIRO have done a lot of consultation locally to say they are very much interested in maintaining an active role in that development for a sustainable community. Now, that's a good thing, but the Commonwealth really has to come to the party here on upgrading infrastructure. If they are going to be building sites from William Slim Drive all the way up to the New South Wales border along Barton Highway, it will have a big impact on Coringa Drive and William Slim Drive too.
Someone from the Liberals? No? Yes? Yep.
Okay, I think Coringa Drive does need to be duplicated. I think that the hard curb which is in place there is very problematic, especially for cyclists. Of course, there is the reservation all the way along there, and you do have the cattle bridge, which also allows for a carriageway underneath. So, relatively speaking, I think it's straightforward. They're famous last words when it comes to road duplications, I know, but having the reservation there certainly does help, and I think it's probably warranted.
Okay.
Sure. Sorry. Well, with regard to the intersections, I, for instance, wonder whether, in actual fact, it would be better if Coringa Drive, the right-of-way in Coringa Drive, actually continued into Kingsford Smith, rather than continued along Coringa Drive. So, in effect, somebody travelling through to Fraser might have to give way. That's one potential option, but also especially if it was duplicated, the signalisation of that intersection in particular, I think, is probably warranted. And depending on the design of the actual road, I think you could probably get away with slip lanes onto Owen Dixon, but that would be contingent upon the road design accommodating it.
Okay, thanks, Alistair. Just in the front row, there are a couple of hands up, and I've noticed you, madam. I'll come back to that. Yep, gentleman in the grey coat.
Look, thanks very much. John Hayden, I'm actually a candidate, but not for Sustainable Australia, but not for this electorate, for Kurrajong. And I have a question for Veronica from the Greens. I think you said, Veronica, that I think the words were, we can have it all. What do you see as the limits to growth? I mean, do we have an issue with water, space, habitat? I mean, how do you gel we can have it all with that sort of approach? Thank you.
I realise that saying that we can have it all is probably a pretty global statement. I think really the point I was trying to make was that we can have a light rail system and we can have improvements to our healthcare system, and we can have improvements to education. So really, I guess that's what I meant, if we're going to get to semantics.
Thank you. All right. Yep. Question over on the left. Person
I
with
got
the microphone wins.
quick 3 questions, one for Greens, one for Labor and one for Liberal. So when Greens started, they've been complaining about Labor and Liberal, and still you are part of the government, which is surprising. And the question for you, so do you, one of you, have an investment property on the light rail route? Because I know Shane Brattenbury has 2 of them, and I'm just wondering whether you have one of any investment property. Just a yes or no question.
I personally don't.
Okay.
I would like to just clarify, though, that my understanding is that Minister Rattenbury purchased those properties after the light rail route was decided.
Okay, so he has 2. Okay, none of you has 1, right? Okay, that's my question. All right. So to Labor, I appreciate what Megan was doing for the last 16 months. Is that right, Megan? 16 months, yeah. And before that, who was in this elected? Were they Labor as part of the government? Like the Labor was running last 13 years, isn't it? And my question is, for the last 13 years, nothing is done, and just happened just during the election time. So when we're going to re-elect you guys, are we going to wait for next election year to get all the infrastructure done in Gungahlin?
I disagree with you, Henley, that nothing's been done in Gungahlin in the last 16 years. I've lived here for a decade. In that time, I first moved here and lived across the road from the 2 petrol stations on Gundaroo Drive. I'd walk up to the town centre. There was Magnet Mart, Raiders, and no second part of the Gungahlin Marketplace. But in the meantime, the government has built the enclosed oval. It has built Gungahlin College, CIT, the library, the swimming pool. We've built schools in Harrison, Franklin, Bonner. We're building a new school in Taylor. Well, certainly the planning has been in place for many years. The planning framework has been in place for many years. Certainly, I wouldn't. All our jobs, no matter which MLA you are, is to work all the time with the community. When I was elected 16 months ago, that wasn't election time. Like I say, I've been working with the community through petitions, through surveys, through hundreds of hours spent on Hibberson Street talking with people every day. I really have a strong sense of what the community wants. They raise it with me every day. We won't always agree. We won't always have the answers everybody wants. That's impossible. But we do work together in the Assembly on a number of different issues. Often this time of the electoral cycle, we'll draw out our differences. But we work in committees. We've worked on committees. Alistair and I have worked on committees around planning, territory and municipal services. And I would reject that the things that I have done in the last 16 months have been about the election solely. They've been solely about this community.
Cool. And the final question for the Liberals.
Sorry, can I say as well, part of the team?
No, there was one question to do with the ALPs.
The final question to the Liberals. So we had the discussion about the Safe School. So Safe School is for starting from 4 years to up until the level in a year 12. So they teach about the penis tucking, chest binding, all those things. And so you guys saying that you're going to keep funding it?
Firstly, what I would say it's funded indirectly through the Commonwealth through a Foundation for Young Australians. So it's not an ACT government project. Secondly, what I said earlier I think holds true. We firmly believe that any sexualised content has to be age appropriate, and therefore I think especially with the subjects that you mentioned. I think we have to be very, very careful about that sort of content and who hears or receives that message.
Okay, thank you. There were some questions down the front.
Sorry, can I just make a comment to that, please?
A quick one, yep.
It's interesting that you raised that question because that's certainly been raised, as I've been out talking to members in the community, they've asked me exactly that question. So even in the last week, I've gone back and done more research into that program, and those things are not being taught in primary school. I can tell you that categorically. I can say to you also that for the older kids in high school, these things are not being taught in that program. young people are being directed to another website which gives them that information if they need it. So if it is relevant to them. So this is not general education that is being given to all country.